Let's talk about the coming week and the changes and the vibe that we've got going on this week. So we've had a lot of Aquarian energy, especially last week. A lot was getting activated in terms of change, higher thinking, different thinking, accessing new possibilities, shake up of our assumptions and expectations, right? The ways that we feel limited, the things that limit us and limit our thinking, but also give structure to our lives and make us feel like we have some sort of control because we can predict what's, what we understand to be happening, and it is more or less predictable. So that is the vibe, that Capricorn vibe, and that old Pluto in Capricorn vibe that we've now shifted out of is like connecting with the frustration of what limits us, but also knowing what we know and having that comfort and that security of things being stable. So let's take a look at this week and how change is changing, how change is changing us, and how it will be changing through us and through the energies that are showing up this week. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Sunday, February 18th. So we are heading this week into a full moon in Virgo next Saturday. So that full moon is exact on Saturday morning, February 24th. And that will be the halfway point through this Aquarius moon cycle that began with the new moon on February 9th. So if you saw yesterday's video, my video for Saturday, February 17th, I was talking quite a bit about this past week. I actually recommend that video because it gave you some perspective on where we're at, what's been showing up, and why. Things really moving into this Aquarian realm with a lot of planets recently shifting into Aquarius. Total of 5 in Aquarius today and really through tonight when the sun goes into Pisces. So I'm going to talk more about that. But yeah, last week had that Aquarian shakeup vibe, that feeling of change, the experience of we can't count on what we used to be able to count on. And so this is actually good news, right? We had that Pluto and Capricorn energy from 2008 to 2023, and then again into 2024. January 20th was the day Pluto went into Aquarius. So we had that Pluto in Capricorn soup that we've been swimming in since 2008. And the Pluto in Capricorn energy is helping us connect with structures. Structures bring a lot of things, right? They bring stability. They bring, ability to predict. We know how things work. We know what the rules are. We know how things operate. We're dealing with systems that have been in place for a long time, right? And we know how they work. So we have that feeling of security because we can rely on those structures. On the downside, they also limit us. So having a structure that we have to work within means that there are always going to be those places we can't go past, right? It's like being in jail. You can't go past the prison bars, but you're in that cell where you really know how things work, right? It's a very limited view or set of possibilities you're dealing with. You can game the system when you know all the rules. So we as human beings learn to have a sense of control over our experience through understanding how the structures around us operate. And that goes from everything from our day-to-day lives and things that create a very personal routine and expectation within our lives, all the way to all the collective things of government, institutions, systems, like financial systems, educational systems, all the systems that we all operate under, and we know how they work. So now that Pluto's gone into Aquarius, we are in new territory. We no longer know the rules. So when you break free of that prison cell, I mean, that's kind of an extreme metaphor because it's not always that limiting feeling, but it's the same idea. So if you can imagine yourself breaking out of a prison cell that you've been in for 20, 30 years, maybe you can't imagine that many years depending on how old you are. But you've been in that cell for a very, very long time, right? You know how things work. Suddenly you break free, which is great, right? Freedom. Suddenly you can do things you haven't been able to do, but also you don't know how things work, right? It can be very destabilizing. It can be intense, right? To step into that feeling of freedom where you have all the possibilities suddenly that you didn't have before, but also you don't know how to navigate within that freedom. You don't know what the rules are. You don't know what the best choices are or how things work or how to game the system because the system is gone. There's no more system. All right. So that's kind of like the vibe that we are in. And last week in particular, like that first week of the Aquarius moon cycle, right? From new moon to first quarter moon, that first week there was lots going on, lots of activation energy, lots of like, we've jumped off the cliff kinds of feelings. And we're not in Kansas anymore. How does this work? So, and then yesterday I was talking about how we need to process all this new information, all this feeling of, the fresh air coming in, the new possibilities opening up. Like, what does it mean? What do we do with it? How does it impact us? There's lots to think about. There's lots to process. Great thing to do with the moon in Gemini, which is about how we process information, how we process data, the need to talk about it, roll it over in our heads to understand a little bit better what it all means, and even what we're dealing with. So yesterday, February 17th, today, February 18th, the moon in Gemini is saying, process some of those new ideas that have been introduced. Give yourself some time and space to think about it, to talk it through with a friend, to journal or write out or do some writing projects. Okay, so that's all to bring us up to speed with where we are now with this Gemini moon and 5 planets in Aquarius. But tonight, things change again. So the change is changing. The evolution is evolving to its next phase of things. And as I talk about here, ultimately, it is all about balance. So we need the introduction of the Aquarian higher level ideas, opening to new possibilities, new thinking, future oriented thinking, because that helps shake things up. It helps get us outside of the limitations of our old thinking and our old ways of being. However, we can't stay there forever. And the beautiful thing about the zodiac is that we do continue on. So tonight, 2 things happen. The sun goes into Pisces and the moon goes from Gemini into Cancer. And these are both water signs. So both the sun and the moon tonight go from air signs into water signs. So air signs are where we're thinking, we're processing information, we're talking things through. It's very verbal. It's very mental. Then with the shift of both the sun and the moon, which is the heart and the mind, or the sun is the mind, the moon is the heart, just like you would imagine it is, both going into water signs where we need to feel things. We're going to process in a very different way. We're going to process through our emotions, through our bodies and the way that our bodies feel, through the ability to intuitively kind of connect with a sense, or an energy. What is happening, what is changing, what does it mean, how does it make me feel? And so what supports us when the moon and the sun are in water signs, what supports us more, is not as much of the mental processing, although that is still there because we still do have Pluto and Mars and Venus in Aquarius, and Mercury going from Aquarius, currently in Aquarius, going into Pisces later this week. And Mars and Venus will be conjunct in Aquarius, so that's more activation. But at any rate, with the shift into Pisces, we go from where we are getting ideas, right? And focusing on ideals and rational thinking. We go to where we have more magical thinking, more mystical experiences, spiritual connections. So with it, and with the moon in Cancer, we also have this profound need for self-care, for attending to our needs, for supporting ourselves emotionally and our emotional process. So in other words, supporting yourself with the water energies has more to do with um, uh, art, magic, music, good vibes, good feelings, things that make you feel happy, things that are more intangible, like the experience of being in nature or being near a body of water or doing something that is nurturing to your soul, right? This is not rational, but it's also highly, highly important. So it is going to support us on this higher plane of connecting with the bigger picture energies and vibrations that support this process of change we are going through. So please watch yesterday's video if you missed it for more of a context on what is changing, what it's looked like in recent days, and even since January 20th when Pluto went into Aquarius, that bigger picture of what is changing and how that might have looked and why things might feel unstable or confusing, or like you're losing that clarity of how things work in the past week. And so now, as we process that again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the moon in Gemini, lots of good opportunities to think things through, process the information what is changing, what it means, how we can think about it. And then Sunday night, when the moon goes into Cancer and the sun goes into Pisces, we're shifting into that bigger picture thinking, and not just thinking, but feeling, right? So we're processing things through our feelings. And we are also, this is the perfect time because things are changing. It is the perfect time to introduce for ourselves new ways of connecting, new ways of opening our hearts, things to activate our imagination and our mythology, right? So how can we imagine? How can we dream? How can we connect with that bigger picture of what we're creating for the future, right? What we're tapping into in terms of change and evolution and new possibility with this Pluto and Aquarius that's been activated in big ways in recent weeks, but also how that is taking us into a new uh, way of connecting with the bigger picture. So, what does it mean for our lives and the dream that we have for ourselves? What does it mean for the world and the dreams, the hopes, the visions that we have for the world? And how can we activate that through our capacity to imagine, to dream, to expand into that bigger picture of a new guiding mythology, right? A new, like, it's like our spirit guides, our guidance, our wisdom needs to come from something that awakens our hearts, our truths, a deeper place of who we are, and that is more mysterious, it is more felt, it is more spiritual. And so that is how things are evolving in this process of evolution and change. So, in other words, first thing is that tonight, as we go from sun and moon both in air signs to sun and moon both in water signs, the vibe shifts. Now we need a little bit more self-care, a little bit more tenderness. We're a little more sensitive, maybe a lot more sensitive. People around us are going to be feeling more sensitive because we're processing things on this more holistic level, on this bigger picture of our spirits, our souls, our guidance, our wisdom, and what we need for that more transcendent part of ourselves. Then, as the week goes on, so we have a Cancer moon from Sunday night through, and then it goes into Leo around, it'll be early Wednesday morning, my time, which is Pacific time in the United States. So so about Wednesday morning, evening, more like afternoon, evening if you're in Europe, at any rate. That moon going into Leo shifts our energy to more outward expression, more creativity and movement. So Leo shines, Leo is dramatic, Leo needs to express itself. So shifting into that place where we can begin to express this new mythology, this new imagination, this new dream that we're tapping into. And so how can we put that into creative form? How can we share it outwardly? How can we express it through our appearance, or the creative projects we're working on, or even just how we show up with others? So expressing your truth, expressing your wisdom, expressing what you're tapping into in your own evolutionary process. And so that is, we're looking at Wednesday, Thursday, and most of Friday in terms of that Leo moon. And then the moon shifts into Virgo for the Saturday morning full moon in Virgo. And we also have this Venus Mars conjunction midweek around Wednesday. So that the energy of the Venus, which is we think of these as like masculine and feminine energies, right? Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. It's kind of a simplistic way of thinking about it, but really the Mars energy and the Venus energy are two sides of a really important coin. And so they're both about how we as human beings go about moving in the world to get the things we want. So Venus is about the things we want. It's about our desires, the things that give us pleasure, that make us feel good, and how we receive that experience of pleasure and feeling good and having the things we want, and receiving and getting, taking the good things in. And then Mars is what we need to do to get those things. So it's about action, courage, warrior energy. It's about how we need to move, what we need to take a stand for, how we go about claiming what we want in the world. It's about will. And so when those two sides of a really important coin come together, Venus and Mars, there is that seed planting of our, it's a fertilization. Whenever two planets come together, there's some fertilization happening. So Mars is learning a little bit more about how to receive. Venus is learning a little bit more about how to be courageous and take action. And it's the beginning of a cycle. So as those two energies come together in Aquarius, it is again about getting outside the box, doing things differently, shaking things up, discovering who we are becoming through recognizing that we can't count on things the way they used to work. We can't count on our ability to take action and have control working the way that it used to. So it's not about having control, it's about having possibility. And as we open that door to new ways of thinking that open us to those new possibilities, just like breaking free of those prison bars, we have that infusion of possibility that says you can do this differently. You can do this in a way it has never been done. You can do it in a way that you never thought was possible. All the things that we didn't think were possible, that we might want, that we might be able to get. We are shifting our thinking. We are shifting our ways of being to open to those possibilities. So that's Venus and Mars midweek. We are, of course, heading to the, and Mercury goes from Aquarius into Pisces as well. So that is toward the end of the week. Looks like just after the Venus-Mars conjunction. Mercury goes from Aquarius into Pisces, bringing the balance of energy from more planets in Aquarius to more planets in Pisces. So that happens toward the end of the week. And then by the time Mercury goes into Pisces on Friday morning, it looks like early, that we have now, so Mercury and Sun now going into Pisces, Saturn and Neptune already in Pisces. Those are outer planets that move slowly, hang out in a sign for a long time. So anyway, that brings, again, a little bit more weight in that area of Pisces. Also brings Mercury into Pisces, joining the sun there, where or not joining the sun, but following the sun into Pisces, where we are shifting into how we think, being from that more spiritual, interconnected, transcendent place. So connecting with our dreams, opening our imagination, and envisioning, like creating something new to inspire us, right? And I keep using the word mythology. Myth is so important, and it's such a essential part of Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces is like how we connect with who we are and how we define that from that bigger picture place. So as Mercury goes into Pisces, we can begin to think on that more dreamy, transcendent level as well, and open to the art and the music and the mythology that can guide us, give meaning to our lives, and kind of inspire us from the heart perspective. So then we head into the Virgo full moon on Saturday, where all comes down to the earth plane. With Virgo energy, we make magic in the physical world. We talk about tangible, we talk about results, we talk about getting hands-on, and we talk about what it looks like to manifest some of these higher ideals. So more on that Virgo full moon later. I will be sharing more about that. For now, I wanted to give you an overview of this week, what's changing, what's going to feel a little different, and how the week will unfold. So I hope that is helpful for you. I am Marina Orms, and you can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. Thank you so much for being here and for your support and for subscribing to this YouTube channel. Definitely take some time to peruse my website, astrologyheals.com. Learn more about who I am, what I do, and how you can work with me, how the beautiful energy of the stars and planets can support you in your life, connecting to your dream, your vision for your life, how you can make a difference in the world, and how you can live your life in a way that embodies not just hope, but participating in evolutionary change. So stay tuned. I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care, and I will be back next time. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.